And I already forgot to... Guess I should load monkey type. Eventually I'll use that. Hopefully by the end of the night. Alright, what am I doing? Enjoying music. Building my Semo TKL tonight and hanging out. Let's, I guess, find some places to post this. Not like I stream anymore. Obviously I don't. Anyways. Forgot how annoying this is to be right here. I usually have it moved out of the way. It's a pop filter and it's there. What am I doing? Let's find places I can advertise my stream. I always do this and I never remember where I can actually do this successfully. Keep joining new places and I'm never sure where I can and can't, so I just usually don't. You don't want to be the guy that just shows up and yeah. What does this channel do? Whatever. If I don't see something that says streaming or something like that, I usually won't. Could I put anything in KLC? I don't even know. They don't like have, well, I guess they have like regular channels, I guess, but feels weird. Although that's totally where I got this from. Self-promo? Sure. I'll throw stuff in self-promos. Sour stuff, S&P. I need to do this faster. I'm slow today. Really wanted to get to this build. I'm really looking forward to this actually. My colors seem off. Damn you, webcam. Whatever. I will figure that out later. Because if I start messing with it now, I will not get anything done. That's usually how it goes for me. So quite a bit of stuff going on actually with TKLs especially. The Promise 87 coming out. Seems interesting. Probably not going to get it. Shelby TKL, Swag Keys. Mildly interested in that one. Might think about getting that one. I'm not really sure though. And then we have other ones and I'm not really sure what I want. Which is random keywords. I don't know if I'm allowed to advertise or put anything in here. What just happened there? Camera, are you okay? Or is it the lights? Is it me? Is it my brain? Am I having a stroke? Oh god. Altair, I don't think. Advertised to the raffle server. That would not go well. Credit keys. Do they have? I forget whoever has. Spectacle and my keys. What's going on with my bitrate? I know there's been like some power outages around my area. Hopefully I'm not offline. If I'm offline, it's a little bit sad. Just need to hurry up this process here. Who else has a place where I can advertise that I'm streaming? Not like anyone wants to watch this. It's bad content, don't watch it. Set introduce social media promo. Stingray Shuffle, thank you for the follow. I stream when I can, but honestly I rarely stream anymore. I have not found the time or a way to make it consistent, but I should. I do enjoy streaming, and I have, after this build, I have a Ginkgo 65, a Bubble 75, Course 60, Lindolphin V3. I don't know. I just have a backlog of things to build eventually. I do want to get to build all of it. I just need to make the time to build all of it. That is always my issue. What is up with these colors? This color balance is going to bug me. I'm going to have to change that on the fly probably. That's probably going to bork everything. I probably shouldn't do that, but I feel like doing it because I'm looking at myself on this monitor and this monitor, and it's just like, it doesn't look quite right. Yes, it's a me problem. It is definitely a me problem. It's hard to find time, exactly. If you're a keyboard dad, you definitely feel that pain half the time. So it's whenever both of my girls go to sleep and I have the ability to do stuff, I try to do stuff. Most of the time it's just boring stuff, lubing switches, filming things, tuning stabs, getting ready for a stream, really. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see, Desk Hero, do they have... I don't remember who has promotion stuff. My memory is not what it used to be. I know Heine doesn't have, I know AO3 doesn't have anything. Create Cubes I don't think has anything. No. I was able to advertise one time on there or a few times because I was building stuff on there. Stream self promo. Okay. So Velocifier. I will need to remember them. I don't think Jay's server has anything. Prototypist. Canon Keys. No. Puzzle doesn't have anything. KBD Fans has that, but I'm not signed up to do that. I'm not important enough. Alright, so before I get started today, I'll probably actually unbox the Course 60, because I actually do want to take a good look at it. I really haven't actually taken a look at it yet. I am interested in building that one probably next. Some people are having, minor issues with building it, so I want to see if I can build it. And I also want to hear how it turns out. I think it should be pretty good. If anything, that strikes me as a keyboard that might be surprisingly good. Maybe a little bit on the loud side, a little bit unruly with the bounce and flex, but that's fine. It's fine. Portal. I think they had self-promo. Haha. I do remember some of these places. I just forget about it. Does Gray Studio have anything? I can't remember. I'm taking too long. Alright, I already threw stuff in Zeus' server. I always put stuff in Zeus' server, it's just fun. I don't even think I watch any of this stuff anymore, if I'm being perfectly honest, but... Oh, UPS is blinked. Okay. Hello, Blue Causes 2. Hello. So, not to debate everyone, but I do want to open this up. Take a look at it. Make some room. Apologies if you hear the UPS fans going off in the background. Having power and stability in my area tonight, I don't really know. So this is the Course 60. A whole bunch of stuff in here, little O-rings, bump-ons. I think this only came with the hot swap PCB. Yep. We're all mad here. And there's a slab of polycarb in it, or no, acrylic here. That's part of the base. People have been having issues with this. So the actual creator of this had mentioned if you have fitment issues, chill it down or warm it up just a little bit. And I get a polycarb or I forget what plate I got. I think I got a flexible plate for this one. I also ordered an alu one later just because, of course, alu. And let's take a quick look at the top. As we'll toss in the fridge. Yeah, it's going to be in there for a little bit too long because I definitely want to build the Semo tonight. I just wanted to take a look at this because I actually hadn't opened it. You can see how nice the paper is. Oh, I got blue. This is nice. So how's the anode quality? Anode quality is a little bit on the chalky side, but it's pretty good. We have these big sort of rounded chamfers. This is square cut on the inside, so you're gonna have to be a little bit precise. I can see why people have mentioned things might be binding a little bit on it. But the anode quality seems to be pretty good. I don't see any... This is pretty hard light above and around me, so... Little particles of paper, but I don't see anything bad about this anode. Interesting. So I suppose I'll make this my next build. I'll wrap everything back up nice and tight. It's nice having things to build. A lot of complaint about binding in the course channel. Yeah, that's part of the reason why I want to build it, just to see if there's something that makes it easier or harder. I almost think it's probably plate placement. Like, you probably have to be a little bit more exact with it. Especially since the inside lip didn't have like any real chamfers in, so things might get caught up a little bit. I don't know. Alright, so let me put away my keyboard on the desk. This is the IU. I was talking to one of my keyboard buddies recently, and he had mentioned once I build Semo, this might not see the light of day for a little bit because Semo's pretty good apparently. I believe him. I think it's gonna be a pretty good Korean top mount. So again, looking forward to building it. Glad I found some time today. Alright. If anyone's ever wondered, this is the Kaban case from Monoke. I absolutely adore these cases. They're not the most protective, but they're definitely stylish, and I tend to keep most of my boards after I build them in cases, so I don't have to worry about things getting on them. for like, you know, kids getting in them. All right, this is it. I'm going to be building this tonight. Let's have some tea. Quick story about my tea. So usually I just make tea and just drink it all night or all day. Whenever I'm home, I usually have some beverage. But this happens to be, you know, just tea. And we have a Zojiroshi water heater, so electronic kettle, if you will. And it just boils water, keeps it hot, and then you pour it out whenever you need to. Apparently, someone in my family decided to try to clean it today and was scrubbing it really hard, and it's like worn away part of the enamel. So I'm not even sure if I should be drinking this. I might just be drinking like enamel and glass shards. So if I start dying on stream, I'll blame that. Probably not the solder fumes. Might be the solder fumes. We'll see. Alright, so this is a PCB I've already opened up and tested. I put stabs on this like, I want to say 2 weeks ago. So it should be good. So we have the big Neon 75 emblem on the back and a little reset. It's pretty cute. Pretty cute. I like this PCB. These are TX stabs. All the stuff done to them. Pretty normal. In the bag we have really, really big feet. That was one of the features of the keyboard that's just a little bit different. We have some extra hardware screws. Put them on my Alchemy Labs tray. And then we have a very, very dense keyboard. Ooh. I guess, you know, we have the Neon 75 logo here. Yeah, this was vendored through Bomb Studio, and this is an A- Semo TKL. And this thing is heavy. So real quick, let's see if we can focus on it. Yeah, you see the brass weight peeking through here. Then we have the very big brass weight. I got mine in black ano, and because this was, I basically just had to pick out from whatever they had left. This is Winkey. Not my first choice, but decent enough. So, aluminum plate. This is top mount. Should be a classic Korean keyboard build. And I'm getting stuff all over my Moto desk mat. Oh no. Oh no. Okay. Anyways, I know they include extra feet because they hide some of the screws with the feet. So I'll put these aside for now. And I guess let's open up the board. So let's see, what size is this? Is this the correct size? Nope. Yes, very chunky. Surprisingly heavy. Okay. So I do want to open up and take a quick look at it. So how are you, Blue Causes? Are you well? Gion let you self-promo. Did I put something in Gion's server? I forget. Hopefully I did. Actually, let me check since I still have this up. Gion. Yes, I did. Okay. I remembered. And then... yeah. Ugh. Carefully set it down. Doing quite well. You're on my side monitor while I grind out the new Genshin event. I'll be honest, I stopped playing Genshin, man. Wait, is this just... This is the bottom weight too. I think I gotta take the bottom weight off. Doing pretty well. Finally found time to do this, and I'm happy. I guess these are all the same size, I think. You're getting pretty deep there? Yeah. I don't know. I enjoy playing the game, but after a while it became more of a chore to do during the day. Like, to find time to do it. I can play games like Arknight sort of, not to say in my sleep, I don't want to brag about it, but those games are easier for me just to find time to do naturally, like when I'm doing other stuff. So, and Arknights is a lot less money too. Whoa. How does this even lift out? What's the safest way to do this? Ooh. I mean, Arknights is pretty much all AFK. Once you get it a route set up, it's pretty easy. Tiers of running Genshin commissions, I don't really... Oh, okay. You said that, not me. Because honestly, I don't dislike the game. I did enjoy playing it. It was just one of those things where time and effort and energy wise, it was getting harder and harder to do. I like playing new characters, trying out new comps, just doing, you know, dumb stuff with overpowered units. But yeah. When they started introducing more of the weapon banner stuff, I really didn't like that so much. Like, I understand they're trying to help people, but I don't know. If you don't get it, the weapon that you want on the first banner, if you're pulling on a weapon banner, that just is a feels bad moment, and you should just stop there. Or, you know, don't pull on a weapon banner and just win at life in total. Okay. Oh. Quite a bit of shavings in there. So they don't have arrows on this one, so I'm not sure exactly what made this A-. They added pity for a weapon banner a year ago. That would help. That would help a lot. Just get the aluminum shavings everywhere. So there's like one minor interior mark here. On the exterior, I don't really see anything going on that would really be that bad to me. There's a little bit of like anno imperfection or streak if you really look at this at an angle. I don't know if the camera will ever focus on that. There's no way that will focus on that. It's too skinny, but there's a slight mismatch or streak on the back here. Very slight. Need to pull 2 weapons to guarantee a weapon, but it's not great. Yeah, that's just is sort of a feels bad time, I would say. Yeah, big anno hook mark right here. But the rest of it looks fine. Oh, some other mark up here. This anno is nice and smooth. It does feel very premium. Okay, so if the only imperfection was in the back, I can understand this skinny little piece here. It actually gets covered over too, so I am a little bit perplexed, unless my eyes are just not working this late at night, why this is an A- stock. Yeah, this board looks great. Alright, I will need to take the plate out though. That's why I did disassemble it. Oh man, this brass weight. So I didn't realize this thing was quite this chonkers. And it was the whole way through. This is a big ass weight. Man, you could bludgeon someone to death with that without even really trying too hard. Alright. So this is a pretty typical top mount arrangement. This is almost like a leaf spring, but not really. It is just, I think they just call this top mount, and that's fine. And I'm actually really looking forward to this. From everything that I've read and heard from other people firsthand, this seems to be a pretty well-loved board. Must be 2/3 the price of the whole board. Probably material cost would be pretty similar, because they probably would just get it in bar stock and then just machine it down. Like the interior of the weight, even though you wouldn't usually see this part unless you're building it. I mean, it has nice fillets. It feels nice and premium, even though it's an interior weight, for lack of a better term. The exterior parts were flawless from what I was seeing. I mean, just a decent quality keyboard, I think. Alright. Let's see if I still remember how to build a keyboard. It's been a while. I do like that I only need one driver to do everything I think I need to do. Okay. Let me put the top and bottom back together. Let me put this back in the bag. Put this on the top. I'll have to move that in a second. So we have the plate, we have the PCB. These screws are all the same size. Excellent. And luckily we have a screw tray over here. I'm somewhat prepared. Amazing. And these metal shavings are everywhere. It's a lot of metal. I'll have to actually vacuum my area up then. Not ready to solder yet, but let's get the soldering mat over here. And I'll trade places with this heavy weight. I mean, this thing just feels very nice. A little young cat logo here. Carefully. Put it down carefully. All right. Okay. So PCB, I would usually test this on stream. Do you guys really want me to test it? I guess I should. It's a good habit to get into. Let me load up VIA. And hit the VIA button. Plate aside. We'll use this cable because it's right there. So we have a little Ocelot H08. And here we have a KBD Fans 8X Mark II PCB. Wow. I always have this as MO1. I guess I need to change the layout actually. It defaults to Win keyless. That's what I would have liked. 7U it is. Left alt, right alt. Right Windows. Right alt. Or do I have this as a menu? I can have that as a menu button. I don't know. I actually use right Windows sometimes more than menu buttons. It's fine, it's fine. Alright. Key tester time. Test matrix shows the correct keyboard. I'll turn the sound on for the funny beeps and boops. That's one thing I forgot to bring over here is LEDs, because there are 3 LED indicators. And if I do recall correctly, they had mentioned on the Discord that the silk screening was incorrect for positive and negative terminals, so I'll have to flip those around. No noise, but activated. What am I doing? Where is it? So these stabs, I have tested them before. I will probably end up doing some more plugging in the butt on them, which is fine. Let's make it through this boring section so we can get to the fun non-interactive soldering part, so I can just go through the build. I'm actually looking forward to using this at work tomorrow. I do have a question though, as far as what keycap should I be using for this build. Dinner's here. Be right back. Nice. How did I miss that guy? So always step caps for this. What keycaps you got? So I'm not sure which ones I'm going to use. It's either GMK redacted 21 KB. I have, I think, blue Korean, red Korean, and purple Korean are somewhere in my basement free, or they could be made free. I have GMK Taeguk. Why did I miss this key? Okay. I'm going crazy trying to talk. What else do I have? GMK Hallyu. Still have a Hallyu base in my basement. I'm not really sure. This is a black board. I just wasn't sure what would go best with it. Guess I don't really have to decide now. Why? What? Hallyu and redacted solid choices. I was thinking redacted originally just for the blackboard. I'm not really sure though. Hold on, I need to figure out this white balance thing. So if I make it cooler, is it making a difference in real time? I can't even tell. I look a little bit less red there. That's probably what I should do. I don't really know. We'll call that a day. Otherwise, I'll just keep at that forever. All right. Good. PCB still works. Nothing happened for the 2 weeks while I was in a bag. Good to know. So today I am using RND-KBD Ultra Glide MX Black switches. I have them here. And I've done some lube and film. Tribosis 3203, a very light coat on just the stem. And you can see these blue Desky films jammed in there because I had Novelkey's Desky films, so why not? I was going back and forth whether I wanted to do thought I loved the scratch. Yeah, it's just a light code of 3203. I didn't use 205 grade 0, so... If I use 205 grade 0, I'd be a scratch hater at that point. Just has to be a tasteful small amount. It doesn't have to be a huge amount. That, I think, is the difference. But let me throw these in here. Oh, you're talking about Ultra Glides? I bought them a while back. I just didn't have a build for them immediately, so I'm just forcing myself to go through some stuff. I think I'm about to buy a stab shim fell out. This PCB might not be the best for stab shims, now that I think about it again. Yeah, but as far as switches go, it should be fine. I might actually have to toothpick mod my TX stabs. Weird, yo. Have a couple sets of MX Blacks breaking in. I don't know. Like, I like my new old stock vintage switches as much as anyone. I like Hyperglides. I think the current Hyperglides are pretty good. Kind of everywhere with my opinion, I guess. Let me get a tool out to help. Gotta flex the Geon plate fork. Alright, black cherry pie on the spacebar because I pretty much have done that in all my builds for fun. I probably don't need the plate fork, but I'll just have it out here just for show. So I have to say, I tuned these stabs with the Geon twisters, and it was super simple and easy to tune. Like, I thought it was going to be sort of a meme thing, but they're actually really useful. I think this is going to be interesting. I think this is going to actually give a little bit of bounce to the board and vibration without being too stiff from the way this is arranged. Forgot about those, I'll have to buy them at once. Kind of want his tactiles too. If you can bundle shipments of stuff that you're buying from him, that's probably for the best. Because honestly, I was looking at things that I want to buy from him at some point, and I don't know how long this is going to be for, or if this is going to be his just philanthropic, you know, Geon thing forever. But currently, switches, Cherry MX Blacks, 30 cents for Hyperglides, for 5-pin Hyperglides. That's kind of nutty. I'll probably end up buying a whole tray. Probably just gonna have to message and be like, hey, you don't need to send all of the containers, just send me like 1 or 2. I just want a tray. Have him save some money, because honestly, he's doing a real service for that sort of price. I feel like I asked this, but what do you think about his cat pad? I'm actually sort of ambivalent about it. It's interesting, but it's might be something I wouldn't jump on, if I'm being perfectly honest. I don't know. I've built a few numpads. I haven't really used numpads at all. It's just like another thing that I'll build and just sort of have to collect to say I have it, but I don't know. Like, I still actually have to go through and figure out what I want to do with my Siga Ocelot, but it looks really pretty, so I'll keep it on my desk. Man, that's something else I could do for a Super Korean build if I wanted to. I think I have another black cherry pie in here. you ever want to do like a more old school Korean sort of build, I guess you could switch out like caps lock for whatever you have in your spacebar switch if it's different. And then solder LEDs in there. Weird old boards do that quite a bit, it seems. Yeah. This is going to be pretty fast to solder too. I don't think I'm going to have to hold the switches down at all. These are fitting in super tight to this KBD 8X Mark II PCB, which is good for me. Less brain power, the better. Not going to lie, I don't have any intention for a macro pad. Just going to end up being a display on the desk. Exactly. I mean, originally I actually had plans for this Ocelot to replace my little stream deck that I hide just off camera. But I don't have time and brain power to figure that out. I know it's not hard to do, I'm lazy. My free time, I've actually been lubing switches and watching more anime recently. I don't know. I think it's pretty good. The season of anime is pretty good. I haven't watched anime in quite a while. Seasonally. I'm saving up episodes right now for Made in Abyss. I think that's going to be pretty amazing. I want to binge that when it's all out and ready to go on Netflix. Yeah. Haven't watched anime in a good 2 years now. That was pretty much me when I had my first kid. I didn't watch anime for like the first 2.5, almost 3 years. And now I'm just like, oh, I can build keyboards and have some spare time to myself? Sure. Tons of backlog. So that's always like a trap for me. I'm like, oh, I have tons of backlog material. I'll get to watch that eventually and enjoy it. And then, not surprisingly, I just never watch anything. I used to keep track of things on like a mal. It would just go on the list and never fall off because, yeah, it's unfortunate, but just don't have enough time in the day to watch everything. $97 on my watch list on now. Exactly. We say we're going to get to them sometime. We'd have to like break both legs, be in the hospital with a very good internet connection, tons of time, and be bored to death, and somehow we would still miss out on like half of the anime that we thought we wanted to watch at one point. I don't know. I was actually surprised with the amount of things coming back. Like, I don't know. There's so many different sequels. One thing that I am waiting up on episodes to watch too is Devil's a Part-Timer. That came back. That was pretty funny when it originally aired. I think it's going to be pretty funny now. 500 games now. You played 50 on Steam. Do you do like the Humble Bundle? Because a lot of my friends like will buy games on Humble Bundle and things like that and just hoard them for when they need them. And then, of course, because we're all dads, like we don't have time to play these games. Oh, that's a feels weird moment. And then everyone goes to the same games of like, what was the last game that I was playing with the group? I think it was Deep Rock Galactic, when you're space dwarves mining. And they keep going back to Tabletop Simulator. I have a friend group we're a bit of a nerd group. We like to play D&D in college, and we kept playing D&D after college, and then, you know, why pay for the months? It's like just over a year of things. Horde crap. Series, what are you talking about? Devil's a Part-Timer. that came out with a second season after 9 or 10 years. I was actually kind of interested to save up episodes and watch that. The other thing I wanted to save up episodes and just binge is Made in Abyss. If you haven't watched the original one, it's kind of brutal. It's on Netflix, but it's a really excellent show. Everything looks like it's sort of cutesy and mysterious, and then just it turns into child torture pretty quickly, but in the best way possible. It's a really good one. I really wanted to read the light novels of those. I'll tell you what, what light novels was I reading recently? For some reason, I'm still, the Reincarnated Slime light novel, I'm still reading that one. I don't know why. I think I'm on the 14th light novel of Overlord. I don't know. I didn't even realize that was a light novel. If that is, I'm probably going to have to see if I can pick it up on Bookwalker. It tends to be how I read things nowadays, rather than going on random sites like, well, my wife has a whole different thing with Chinese stuff, says she's Chinese, and, you know, they have tons of weird light novel stuff like that. Read a fair bit of Slime Overlord, volume 11 or 12. Yeah, is that what it's on? I forget. I just remember I picked it up. I'm like, oh, I can read this sometime. I read like 30 pages in, then I had to change the diaper. So I was like, okay, I'm done for the day, I guess. But I'm pretty sure there's only like 15 or 16 volumes of Overlord in total. So there's not that much content, more to go. And I think it's because they just had to wrap it up. Latest volume is like 14, something like that. I don't know, I just keep pre-ordering stuff, so. End at 16 total? Yeah, that sounds about right. I don't know, I'll be honest, when I first watched the anime, I had such low expectations for it, but it ended up being so good. And now it's like, I don't know, it's kind of interesting. Okay, I definitely don't need the plate fork today. Original show is great. Later parts get very political, but I still enjoyed it. So, the thing I liked most about reading the light novels, and it constantly reminds you, and it sort of does in the anime, but just not as well, is reminding you that he is essentially role-playing a character that doesn't know too much. I always found that aspect to be more entertaining than, like, I guess the other world premise that a lot of people find entertaining. I don't know. It's the little things about what it does really well that I was originally impressed with. The slow sort of methodical world building, the characters, the way the side characters were interesting was pretty good, because usually a lot of the, I guess, more pulp light novels tend to just be straight up power fantasies. Yeah, this is sort of too, but I don't know. I just thought it did better than some other stuff I had viewed or read at the time. Oh, I also heard that Tomo is going to be shipping sometime soon. As soon as it clears customs with Makibo, so looking forward to building one of those whenever I get it. Too many of those power web novels. Yeah. That's another thing that they're adapting. Solo Leveling. They're adapting that to become an anime. Hopefully they don't kill it. I could just imagine solo leveling fans just mauling at that. It's interesting though, if they keep adapting things like Mawa and things like that, it'll be more diverse, and I think in the long run it would probably actually be better for the anime community to have more sources of stuff. Not personally a solo leveling fan. Yeah, that's fine. So do I want to do something a little bit crazy and put it in here? No, it's not. I was gonna put a black cherry pie on the step caps and then put an LED through it. Let's not do that. That's more work. Where am I putting this? Oh yeah, I need to grab LEDs. Let me grab 3 LEDs for this right here. I'll be right back. You know, never mind. I don't know what I did with my LEDs. I reorganized my stuff, and it's like, I don't know what I did with it. Anyways, it's fine. I will survive without those. I'll just put them in later whenever I remember. Okay. Come back in a bit. Alright, well, enjoy your dinner. Let me make sure all the switches have went through without issue. I don't have to straighten anything out or reseat anything. Quick look down the rows, see if everything's sticking out and not straight or down all the way. Alright, this should be a pretty fast solder. Everything is sitting nicely in the plate. Nothing sticking up or being weird. Okay. I guess I need to move this, move that over there. I will start up crisp so you don't have to listen to the fan. And let's get the soldering. All right, crisp is on. I might sound like I'm underwater. That should be okay though. Because you should not hear the fan. It's already heated up in sleep mode. Excellent. Tin the tip. Alright, let's start by putting the 4 corners in. It says PCB solders pretty nicely. Not much to complain about, if anything. Solder mass is pretty good. I'm concerned about pipe a little bit because it's a little bit of Swiss cheese going on the plate for options. And step caps has options. All right, the rest of this should be pretty easy, smooth sailing. Mhm. All right. Sorry for the boring part, but soldering is pretty simple to do, especially if you haven't done it before. If anyone's afraid of soldering, don't be. Watch some YouTube videos. Louis Rossman's a good resource guide. There's a few others. Um, Art of Repair is another one that is a pretty good guide for new people. Um, Pick up pretty much any soldering iron that has a little bit of temperature control and some leaded solder. That's probably the easiest to get started with, but if you're concerned, there's also non-leaded solders you can get as well. That will be just fine doing this job. And soldering is pretty easy once you get the hang of it. And even if you're brand new at it, you have to do quite a bit to damage the PCB. It's probably easier to burn yourself, so just be careful. Take your time. No need to be in a rush. And with soldering, usually less is more. If you're ever worried about not putting enough solder on, usually that's not the case, unless you are not putting enough on to wet or join the surfaces. In this case, I'm always going in the same direction, just for consistency, so I know about how much I'm feeding in, so it's pretty consistent. Each PCB will be slightly different, but usually whenever the solder mask, that's the black part of this keyboard, is applied, it's pretty good at being fairly uniform and not being too absurd as far as being super thick in one area and thin in others, as far as being around the solder point. So usually you can get away with soldering pretty easily with most of these configurations without too much to worry about. And whenever you're soldering, you're putting the solder iron heating up both materials that you want to join. So in this case, you're putting it on the PCB on the metal part, the metal rings, and you're also touching the metal leg of the switch. You're heating both these surfaces up because you want the solder to flow between both of the surfaces. And then you just basically push a little bit of solder onto the heated surfaces and it'll all melt. Because it's a liquid, it'll adhere and it's pretty good to go. It's not difficult at all. Takes a little bit getting used to, but soldering is just one of those life skills that if you haven't done it, you should try. It's a good skill to learn. Forward that one a little bit, looked a little bit dull. So usually if you have a cold solder joint, things will look dull instead of shiny. And if at any point it looks dull or it does not look smooth when you look at it up close, you probably need to add heat to both materials that you're trying to join and reflow that joint. And again, you don't need to use much at all. Just need to put enough on to join the metal surfaces. It should look like a little volcano. And it's kind of easy and therapeutic. If you like lubing switches, you probably will enjoy just leisurely going around and soldering. It is quite fulfilling. But because there's always health risks, make sure that you have some sort of fan on to exhaust, because we don't want to inhale fumes. A little bit more with this one. Okay. I'm just going to pick it up and look at it from a slightly different angle because this light on is pretty harsh. So I just want to make sure that everything is good before I move on to the next row. At the very end, I'll put everything down and pick up the board and take a nice close look at it. The actual material science behind soldering is quite interesting. Very useful if you're in the keyboard hobby, I'd say the very least, to learn soldering as a skill. There's a minimal difference between soldered and hot swap, but I think if you're a careful listener, especially in person, there is a difference to be heard. And I generally prefer a good soldered build. That being said, if switches are not flat against a PCB, if it's not clipped in the plate the whole way, if you have issues with building, it'll sound lackluster. You'll be able to hear keys, feel keys that are not input correctly. And to some extent, that's part of learning soldering when you're building keyboards. Just take your time, do your best, and if you mess up, you can always either try to reflow the solder or use a solder sucker and take out the switches. Hi, Jaden the Bozo. How are you? halfway done with soldering, a little over. And now I'm hoping I got the bottom row correct. No matter how many boards I build, if there's Swiss cheese in the bottom row, part of me always wants to second guess and triple guess and quadruple guess what I've done on that bottom row. Is it correct? Will I need to pull out the solder sucker and fix it immediately and suffer the embarrassment? I could just memorize it, but I'll be honest, I'm a little bit lazy, I guess. Short-term brain cells, it's an issue. But hopefully you are well, Jaden Mendoza. Welcome. Just building my little Semo TKL. I was looking forward to this build. I think I got this thing like a month ago, and I've just been sitting on it because I've been busy with real life stuff. So it feels bad moment. I definitely wanted to build this a lot sooner. All right. 2 more rows to go. Yeah, so next week I just have to do a little bit of switch prep. I think I will build the course. I'm going to build it with 80 board blacks, I think. I wanted to try them out. Finally get to try them out, I suppose. And then I guess I'll probably end up using 21 KB as keycaps. I think that'll look pretty good on the color blue. The color blue that the Core 60 has a little bit more green in it, so I think beige will go pretty well with it. What do I want to do for the build after that, though? At some point, I need to build this Bubble 75 and this Ginkgo 65. Do I guess I'll try to do the 65 after the course. That way I have like Tomo to look forward to whenever that shows up. That's yet another thing that I built the Frankenswitch for, but I still need to finish doing the Leuven film on that one. That should be a pretty fun build. And I'll probably end up wanting to fast track that build, put it ahead of everything else when I get that in hand. But it could be up to, 2 weeks or so until I get that board. Right now, as I understood, Popcorn had mentioned Makibo. It should be in customs right now, trying to get through there. Once it's through there, Makibo will take a look at it and start labeling and parting things out, and grouping things in kits. And then after that, they'll be shipped out to everyone. It'll be great times. Actually, we were looking forward to that board. Alright, soldering's pretty much done now. When I'm done, I'll pick up the board and talk through what I'm doing, I guess. We're just inspecting my own solder joints. And then we'll test out the PCB, clean it up, and then start assembling everything. Alright, pick up the board. What are my old man eyes? I'm basically looking at it, turning it about, looking for the nice volcano shape, looking at the color as I move it around in light, making sure I don't have any cold solder or weird looking joints that I might have to reflow. I'm also looking at the relative position of the pins, the plastic part of the pins, and the back of the switch in the plate and PCB to make sure that I don't need to reflow it and try to push it in further. Everything seems to be sitting uniform and flat, which is good. As long as I guess correctly with the bottom row, we should be golden. All right. Let me turn the fan off. Let me plug this in. And pull up VIA again. There's VIA. Move over to the correct PCB. And let's test it out. So I hear this, I don't see it. So I'm wondering if that's in the correct placement or not. So what was this assigned to? Right windows. Let me make it left windows real quick. And go back to key tester. No, let's turn test matrix off. Huh. How's build going? Going well. I'm a little bit concerned about this Windows key. I can hear it in key tester, but I don't see it lighting up, and I don't know what it's lighting up. That's a strange one. On the full, it's not doing anything. It's still making a sound. Still making a sound. Why is that? If it is making a sound, it's probably a layout issue then. It's a layout issue, it's probably fine. Well, so if I go into key tester and I press on it with key sounds on and I hear it, I know it's registering somewhere. I don't know what it's mapped to. I'm probably going to have to reflash the PCB. It's probably what's going to have to happen. That's my best guess. Why am I drinking tea without washing my hands? Lead poisoning. Brilliant. Okay. It should probably be fine. If it's not, I mean... Alright. Guess I will turn that back on for a second. And we need to let it heat up to 350 real quick. Then I'll tin the tip and then put this away for hopefully just 2 weeks. I guess we'll see what happens with my schedule. Sleep off, off, off. I mean, it's just right windows. I don't really use right windows that much unless I'm trying to like lock my computer or something. But even then, it's fine. Okay. Let me move this out of the way. And next we clean up the PCB. I guess I should turn crisp off so I don't sound as if I'm underwater. Crisp is off. If I still sound like I'm underwater, let me know. That'd be a little bit upsetting. All right. Grab some paper towel. And this is 99% isopropyl alcohol. These are PE foam wipes. And I'm just going to clean up the PCB, try to get as much of the flux and nasty stuff off as possible without taking all night. Sounds way better now. You could try NVIDIA broadcast if you got a card with ray tracing. I still have a 1080. As weird as it sounds. I used to be the guy that would always get the newest graphics card and keep his computer up to date for the gaming purposes. And then daddom hit and I just didn't have time to game anymore really, so I kind of got lazy. I would like to get back into gaming. I would like to, now that graphics cards are becoming more available. Yeah. Hopefully I sound better. If I still sound like I'm underwater, I mean, shit's fucked. I don't know. For me, I guess it's a conscious choice to use crisp whenever I'm soldering, just so whoever's listening doesn't have to hear the fan. Broadcast is awesome though. I have a condenser and it doesn't make my mic sound like complete ass like Crisp does. I don't know. Crisp has a weird thing where it goes so hard with trying to scrub out noise that it's almost unusable at times. But I think it sounds better than, you know, literally this fan just going, whoa. Sorry. Had to demonstrate. Because it does work. It just kind of kills everything else going on. War tank with Crisp. Oh boy. Little do you know, I actually just have, you know, a cheap Corsair headset on a pole boomed at my face. That's what Crisp usually sounds like to me, at least. Sound Recreation 07. So what microphone setup do you have going on then? You probably mentioned it when the one guy was talking about microphones in the chat. And then I probably was doing other stuff. $2035. Okay. I don't know. For a while I was using a dynamic microphone, then I switched to a condenser microphone. Then I switched to my current microphone, which is a pencil condenser microphone. I honestly, like, if I had thought about it more, I probably would have just stopped at the first condenser microphone, because I had a Rode NT1. I was pretty happy with that sound. There was just moments where I didn't want to bother messing around with EQ forever to get it just right. Hated dynamics so much. So the dynamic I have, I actually really liked it. The only thing is I'd have to have it literally in frame, like inches from my face. It sounded pretty good though, and I didn't have to do too much post-processing to it to get it to sound good, because it was cutting out a lot of the low frequencies of my voice. Like even now I have to gate and cut out and compress some of the low frequencies of my voice, because it in most consumer headphones and over phones, it just sort of sounds muddy. I sort of imagine it's whatever my wife hears whenever I try to talk to her and she just doesn't care to listen to me. Murmur, 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 murmur. It's probably what I sound like to her all the time. That's fine. But yeah. Had the Neumann dynamic microphone. It worked pretty well, actually. I really liked it. Sometimes I stray away from my mic unconsciously when my buddy's calling. I just can't hear me anymore. Yeah, dynamics will do that. For me, I had to use a cloud lifter. It had enough self-noise to it that it wasn't unacceptable, but it just added a little bit too much for broadcasts like this. If I was gaming and there's background music from a game, no one would really care. Or if I was on voice comms, it would just sound like a much better microphone than anyone else had in the call. So yeah, I don't know, microphones are interesting. Originally I tried to set my wife up with the Rode NT1, but apparently all her coworkers were complaining that they could hear her keyboard, the room, and everything just a little bit too much. So I actually got her a dynamic microphone. What's this bottle called? This is just an ESD dispenser. You can find them in Amazon. You could find them at local electronic supply stores. Same with the PE foam little wipey things. It's super useful because it's hands-free. You just tap on the part of the lid and it just dispenses for you. It's pretty airtight, so you don't have to worry about it really leaking out unless you just don't build for like a month, like me. It still smelled fine. Don't smell it directly because, you know, you shouldn't inhale too much of that, but it's pretty good. But yeah, just, you know, industry standard electronics building and maintaining stuff. I don't know why I bought the ESD safe version. It's not like I'm actually at an ESD workstation. Into soldering stuff soon when the demo pad comes. Never soldered before. So IPA cleaning post solder is a normal thing to do. It's very normal for me to do it. Coming from somewhere that has pretty stringent controls on electronics and products. Merlin is probably the best known example for cleaning boards after soldering. He basically will just use an old soft bristled toothbrush and 99% isopropyl alcohol and basically just give his boards a quick scrub down. That being said, you know, most people probably don't bother. I think it's a good thing, so. But yeah, if you ever see Merlin with a toothbrush scrubbing the back of his board after soldering, that's what he's doing. because ideally you want to try to get the flux off. The solder mask will prevent it from doing too much damage. It won't really corrode anything. It's just one of those things. Is it group by episodes? Yeah. If you ever really want to see what's going on in the hobby at the one point in time, I really like McMerlin's content as far as his group buys and updates and stuff like that. I really enjoy his stuff too, generally speaking. Although in the past few months, the hobby seems to have really slowed down except for certain niche items. Like recently there is RBB that ran. There's this Promise 86 or 87 keyboard that's coming out. Ton of servers, ton of group buy. Fair since I don't I don't browse Geekhack. I think a lot of people are coming in the hobby that will have knowledge of how to search for an IC on Geekhack, but are not, on that very often or even really make accounts for it anymore. For a while I was like that too, but I don't know. It does have a lot of information on there. There's a lot of stuff you can find on Geekhack. And a lot of ICs and crazy stuff. It's sort of interesting. Mech Group Buys as a website tries to aggregate a lot of the stuff. McMerlin does a pretty good job of aggregating stuff too. It's interesting. What am I exactly doing to the board right now? I am cleaning the flux off after soldering. So I'm basically just using PU foam wipes on isopropyl alcohol and just trying to get as much of the residue off after soldering as I can. All right, thank you, Universal Edits. Hope you enjoy your night too. Thanks for stopping by. This should be almost done. Second to last row, and then we can start talking about what keycaps I should put on this. Geekhack UI frustrates me. Just stick to Reddit. Oh man. I don't know. I personally came from a time when everything was old-fashioned forums, just like Geekhack. That UI brings me back to every forum that I was on for anime, gaming, CSGO, computers. Yeah, that wasn't IRC chat or some other old archaic thing I don't think anyone else uses anymore. I guess if you didn't grow up with it, it just looks hella archaic. I could see that. To me, Reddit just looks a little bit chaos, but I can make my way through Reddit. That's fair, yeah. I don't know. One thing that I recently learned about was Instagram has hashtags, and you really have to use hashtags, otherwise no one will ever see anything that you put on. I didn't realize this. I am internet boomer. I do not know anything. Unless it's old archaic technology like web bulletin boards and old forums. Just stay off Instagram and Twitter personally. Like, I have a Twitter, and I've tweeted like 2 things out ever. I'm not important enough to use Twitter. I don't really care to read what other people say either. Eventually someone that is very interested in it will contact me and tell me whatever they think I need to know about, but I kind of just am uninterested in many ways. And Mushiki, hey, how's it going? How are you, man? doing well. Finally found time to build my Semo TKL. Very happy. Now I need to decide what keycaps. It's been a minute, it has. It's been far too long. Life happened, and then with my 4.5-year-old, of course, you know, just getting whatever random kindergarten or pre-K illness, and then, yeah. How are things going for you? Hopefully you're doing pretty well. Finishing cleaning up this board. Things are going okay. Nice. Yeah, now I need to figure out what I want to put on the Semo TKL. I have a few options of keycaps. GMK Redacted, GMK Taeguk. I also have Hallyu base in here somewhere. Don't know what I want to put on it. Or I guess I could just go 21 KB because I have 21 KB in Korean, so that'd be fitting for a Korean board. It's black. Yeah, I don't know. I thought Redacted 2. That was my first guess for what I probably would do. Alright. Where do I have my Redacted? There. Okay. Noted. Thank you for your input, good sir. Alright. Put this back in here just to keep it nice and safe. So this is an extra, an A- stock Semo TKL. Besides a little bit of the interior stuff, I really don't see anything that would make it A-. But I'll take it. Alright. Interior screws. Alright. This board's going pretty well so far. I'm very excited to type on this tomorrow at work, actually. Okay. What happened with... Plate moved a little bit. Let me hold that. Did you buy Ultra Glide Blacks or did you break them in yourself? I bought them from RND KBD a while back, and I decided I'm not sure what board I'd use them in, so I just wanted to try them out in this one. I have yet to win one of those break-in testers from Feng's studio, and I kind of don't have the time and attention span to assemble a whole break-in machine myself just from loose parts in my basement, if I'm being perfectly honest. And even then, honestly, I kind of like MX Black, so. You got a machine, no mind running them? That'd be cool. But honestly, for the most part, I kind of like Cherry MX Black sort of as is. I've found that it's a familiar feel and, you know. Been doing 4-axis break-in for Hyperglide Blacks. That sounds interesting. 4-axis break-in. So you do off-center on multiple fronts then. Interesting. I don't know. At some point, I'll definitely want to get a break-in machine whenever they become a little bit more available. Yeah. 400,000 actuations. As long as they have that nice cherry raspiness to them, because in the end, I do like the little bit of cherry raspiness. Okay, I'm going to put these to the side. All right. Okay. So these 4 were in the back. Scratch is almost non-existent, however. Interesting. I don't know. I'm definitely gonna have to get a break-in machine at some point to test some of this stuff out. Is this the wrong size screw? This is probably the wrong size screw. Yeah, every time I see them come up on Feng's studio, they pretty much sell out like instantly. I'm pretty sure people must be botting for them at this point. Ah, there we go. Shorter screws in the back. Guess that makes sense. Alright. Without the weight in, this board is definitely light and manageable. With the weight in, yeah, I think it's just going to sit on my desk for a while. Probably also because I'm anticipating that I will actually really enjoy this. Yeah, let me pick up the weight as I'm done with this screw. Ugh. This entire thing is the weight. It's ridiculous. This weighs more than this. It is. Way too many TKL at this point. That's very true. At some point, I'm definitely going to slow down with keyboards that I'm looking at buying. Like I was looking at some of the ones coming up. The Promise 87 interests me, but I probably won't end up picking up that board. That I would probably pick up a Shelby. That board from Swag Keys looks pretty interesting to me. Yeah. You're saying nah for that one too? I don't know. It just seems like something fairly inexpensive for TKLs that would be interesting. Interesting, that's where it stops. I don't know. After this one, I might not be interested in too many other TKLs. How do I put this on without scuffing this? This is going to be an interesting conundrum. Do I put it on like this? Is this the way to do it? I'm doing it blind. Okay, it's in there. Oh, and now it's super heavy. I don't know, the last thing that I looked at that really wanted was RBB, so that if Perry ever does run a K-Honey Dual Disc version 2, I would definitely try to get on that as well. Send some money Popcorn's way and bribe her, I guess, to make sure I get in that one. Really bad boy. The Zex board. Yeah, there's something about that seamless screwless design that I really was drawn to. Skipping on the Mix 65. That board is just crazy. I mean, every time that someone posts it, it's just instant cloud, I think. I don't know. It's a nice board, though. Do I need to swap these screws around? What's going on here? One on stream, I'm like, damn it. I could imagine. Hold on, did I get these screws in the wrong order? Was there different lengths of screws that I just was not paying attention to? Probably, right? So this one fits in just fine. What's the size difference in these? So that one fit. These are all the same size. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of Perry's boards are... I don't know. I generally enjoy a lot of Perry's boards. also like Zekken stuff. I missed Ladybird raffle. That would be another one I was actually pretty interested in. Honeybush's little 60. Actually, let's... What are these extra screws that they did send? Wait, these are smaller screws. Huh. Did I put the wrong screws in the wrong place? Probably. Alright. Now I need to take this all apart because I think I got the wrong screws in the wrong place. Maybe? I don't know. I am doubting myself so much right now. So these all appear to be the same size. And then these are the longer screws that would fit in front and for the plate. Don't doubt yourself, you got this. Hey, thank you. Anonymity. Fun spelling. Alright. Most streamers have a hard time pronouncing it? Really? They're probably thinking a little bit too much. Just have fun. It's a stream. It's all good. I'm just worried about dropping this weight. Yeah, I think it is. It makes sense to me at least. So is this... Okay, so then this screw. Changing the O and D is hard, but it's for some, I guess. Maybe. Do I have a story behind my username? Not really. It's just sort of me. So those are all the same size, these are all the same size, and then... Hey. So I'm pretty sure these screws were already in here though. And I am slightly concerned that these are up just a little bit from the bottom. I don't know anymore. Let's just YOLO and put it together. Then put keycaps on it and then do a typing test. At some point, yeah. Caution takes us so far, but at the end of it all, I need to go to bed at some point. Alright, carefully again. Blindly. Oh, it's so heavy now. Oh, that weight. I didn't realize how much this weight actually weighs. Well, it seems to fit together just fine. So I guess I did it okay. I guess this is the right way to do things. I'm sure someone will tell me later on a VOD sometime. It'll be okay. Alright, now for the feet. These bump-ons were interesting because these are super long strips for the front. And they give you extra because they actually cover up some of the screws. I forget if JM Sir said there would be extra of these. Not sure if I like that. Yeah, that's the only sort of questionable part about the build. I don't know. The rest of it seems to be pretty simple and easy. The weight was the only part that confused me there. But luckily it's top mount, so I don't think a lot could go wrong with the board. Man, bringing this board into work is going to be a workout. Watch my lower back, yeah. Make sure I don't twist. End up in the hospital, man. This feels so wrong. Oh. I'll have to put a heavy label on this bag. Make sure I bend at the knees. All right. Ooh. All right. Well, it's that moment where I open up my GMK set. Alright, GMK redacted. Got the Omni-type logo on there. Hey, I'm even using an old Omni-type map too. So that checks out, I guess. Alright, we're on our way to a very slow typing test because I'm an old man and I'm getting tired. Oh, GMK trays, I hate you. Why do we tolerate you, GMK trays? Alright. People are going to be very confused tomorrow. What is that? Why are there black streaks? What's going on? You're gonna wait? Yes. It's like sort of a mix between leaf spring and top mount. So I sort of expect the row 1 to sound a little bit on the dead side, and then I'm hoping the rest of it opens up a little bit. I guess we'll see though. Ugh. Get on there. That's your new home. I might have to retune some of the stabs with just a little bit of plugging of the butt. Seeing a little bit here. Guess that's L. Where's my barred keys at? There we go. Okay. Yes. Unfortunately, the rip this, it's just redacted. It'll never be the same. Actually, I'm a little bit worried if my kids do see this, because they might, you know, assume this is the way that you should be marking keycaps or something weird. So, print. Scroll. That would be disastrous. It would. And not entirely unexpected either. So far, I've seen both my daughters stand on the little acrylic keyboard that I made for them. I don't know. They like just tapping buttons, and after a while, they just start standing on it like it's a small stool or something. I'm just like, what are you doing? Can't trust your kids for a moment. All sorts of stuff on that. Okay. 2 controls and 2 alts over here. Ooh, poor keyboard. I mean, they're kids. I guess this is supposed to be over here and this one's supposed to be over here. All right. Oh, and then I got dust all over my desk mat. Beautiful. Not feeling the sound? Yeah. Let's try it out. Let me change my microphone setup, and then let's see. Then if we need to do stuff to it, we might need to do stuff to it. We'll see what happens. Roll with the punches. 1 second. Okay. band, so I still have a wrist rest. I guess I should stop the music for at least a little bit here. And let's, I guess, try this. Let me check the volume levels and make sure that I am still actually being heard. Okay, I might be a little bit soft. Oh, it's clicking stuff. What are you clicking? Don't click over there, click over here. Mouse clicks keyboard level. And slow typing test. Quickly, let's do the mods. Top row definitely sounds weird. Let me do another one without the headphones on just to see. Just to see. Apologies, since putting the microphone here, I haven't recaptured the monkey type window because it's sheer laziness and stupidity, so you will not see what I'm typing, but it is monkey type. Hey, Small Chungus, how's it going? Let's do the mouse clicks again at keyboard level. And so what do you guys think about this? Shout out Small Chungus. Hey, that still works. Amazing. Thoughts on this Semo TKL build? Do I need to open it up? I know it has that resonance to it. I'm going to unplug it and just spam some keys. Top Mountain Soup MX Blacks, don't know what else to say. This row here has a little bit more reverberation. It almost sounds like it's coming from down in here, so I might want to check the mounting points of the case. Home row sounds pretty good. Yeah, it does sound very light. It's interesting. Almost hollow. That might be something I'll end up looking at with polyfill. I don't know. It's either that or there might be a gap with the plate. Like if I lift up and shake it and tap at it. It's definitely solid. So I don't think it's a case. I don't think it's like having to do force break or anything weird like that. It definitely has reverb in the case though. Yeah. I'm thinking maybe some polyfill. All right. Let me turn the music back on and I'll get back to work. I'm just going to leave the microphone here. Out of just, I forgot how heavy this is to pick up. Alright. Guess I'll get my second screw tray out. And I'll try to actually put things back where they should go. Move that out of the way. Alright. First things first, back weight comes off. It up carefully. This weight is so heavy. Alright. I think if I did add tape anywhere, tape would probably go between the weight and this. I didn't detect any hollowness or ping, but that thing is so dense. I think it could be tricking ears a little bit with that. I don't really know. Yeah, polyfill first. One variable at a time. I agree. I don't think tape will probably be needed. I mean, the weight is so massive. The only part of the design, I think you agree with me on this one, Frank, that I don't like is bump-ons covering up the screws. That just feels a little bit weird, man. I'm thinking about it. It would make a lot more sense. Wait, that is a small screw. So real quick, just to look at the inner mount, right? So it is top mount, but it has like this spring-like structure in here, which it's separated from the case, so I don't think that would cause any issues. USB-C, if it focuses, is placed in about the right place. I don't think that would cause any hollowness issues. The case definitely has some resonance to it, so maybe that's just a feature of it. I'm not really sure. Because there's like very little space. You can look at, come on, focus camera. Very little space. Whatever polyfill I'm putting in is mysteries abound. The amount of polyfill is going to be, this might even be too much. It definitely has a nice feel to it, though. It feels like a top mount, but just with the edge taken off a little bit, which is interesting. I'll just have to live with the consequence of these white pubes everywhere all over my desk for the next week or two. That's fine. Just try to group it up so it doesn't go everywhere. Okay. Pop case back on. Alright. So these screws are definitely shorter than these screws. Maybe I got the screw order wrong. Maybe that was what's actually happened. Let me definitely put these in first. Okay, now for this crazy weight. Carefully. Okay. And then hold it up. Okay. There we go. Somehow polyfill's already made it all over my desk mat. Better. Now, the thing that I don't know is if the order of the screws had messed up the sound or if it was adding polyfill. I don't know. Still not impressed? Let's see. Let's try it again. Stop the music. Where's that monkey type window? All right, let's try it one more time. Or maybe two, I don't know. Mouse clicks, keyboard level. It's about the same position I always have my boards in. Let me move it up a little bit. I think usually about here. All right. So, mod real quick. What are my thoughts on this? You say, okay, mod sounds much better. I agree the mod sounds much better. I mean, like up arrow here, you can hear it has some resonance still. I don't know if I classify that as ping per se. Maybe? Yeah, okay. Somewhere down in here, there's still something weird going on with that. This row sounds much better. Home row still sounds good. This row 3 sounds good. Number row sounds good. The top row sounds less dead to me, but yeah. Yeah, it is inconsistent. Like, if you listen on the space bar, I can hear some resonance somewhere between the bottom case and the plate itself. I don't think it's somewhere in the top mount, but yeah. Whoa, the space bar? I think it just sounds okay. Like, let me pull out another. Let's pull out a space bar. Let me pull out just another keyboard that is top mount. This is going to be different switches, but just for comparison's sake. It's so heavy. It's alloyed PC plate, so it's not a good comparison per se, but yeah, I don't know. Like, you know, my little KFECE with polycarbonate plate, I actually like the sound of this one overall better. It's different switches, different plate material, but this one just sounds inconsistent somehow. I think Frank's right with that one. Definitely going to have to play around with this board. I still think there's probably something I'm missing or can tune with it. I'll have to take a look. I guess I'll pull out one with an alu plate. I think there's potential too, it's just something. He built one and it sounded good. Okay. Let me turn the music back on. Let me play around with it for a little bit here, since I did finish soldering earlier. Don't know what his combo is though. So that's the thing though, I usually end up liking aluminum and MX blacks generally in the top mount configuration. Feel wise, I do like the feel of this board. Sound wise, it's a thing. I don't even know. Like, if it all sounded like these two rows here, I'd be very happy. But this number row, it sounds like that row usually sounds, which is a little bit on the dead and weird side. Up arrow, you can definitely hear resonance in this area, and this area almost, it's not quite pingy, but it's almost. I don't know. Let's open up again. What's the worst that can happen? Ugh. I blow up my bicep trying to lift this. Alright, there's the other screw holder. I just dropped the screw. Where'd it go? Part of me thinks tape mod. But I'm not sure if it would have that much of an effect if polyfill only made it sound, you know, just a little bit more controlled. We'll take suggestions from the chat if you guys have anything. Oh man. Dump this weight out again. Carefully. Ugh. The flare brass weight was screwless. Why not tape mod? So I'm wondering if it's something with this weight not interacting well. So if I was to put anything on here, it would be the front lip, the back lip. I don't even think I need anything in the middle. Sorry, taking mental inventory of things I could try later on. Like, what does it sound like without the weight? A little bit curious. Feels like a regular TKL now. So it must be something with the plate then. Let me try taking the plate off, taking a look at that, and seeing. Sorry if I just tortured you. Here's Hollis and the Alphas. Do you mind? So a little bit of resonance I can deal with. I wouldn't say it's flat out hollowness with the weight in, with the weight out. Yeah, I'd copy Frank's oof any day with that one. And of course, it's all stuck to the back. Gross. Ew. Alright, let me try taking the plate off. I'm beginning to wonder if putting something here as like a pseudo force brick might do something. Also, these things are all slightly bent up. I'm assuming that's correct. Let me try to flatten it out a little bit. Something like a leaf spring mechanism almost. Bit of wipe tape. Cut a very small sliver for this stuff. You bricked your W1AT PCB? Oh. That sucks. I'm pretty sure Gian will still be selling those for a little bit. I'm still waiting to get mine as well, so. Hey, Anonymity, thank you for the follow. Alright, how do I get this tape off? Guess I gotta use the tweezers.
Alrighty, I'm off to sleep, but thank you for the stream. Hope to catch you next time you're live.
Thank you for stopping by. Have a good night and be well. Stay healthy. Get plenty of sleep. And thank you again for coming by and enjoying the stream. Hopefully next time it'll be more than just me trying to troubleshoot board sounds. B key kept repeating while I was trying to fix it. My computer stopped recognizing it. Oof. Chop the paper behind it. It didn't actually chop. Okay. pulled out your laptop and nothing bricked. Man, that feels bad. Part of this, I'm not even sure if that's worth putting anything on for. Sounds amazing though. Built with oil cans. Nice. Offered PCB repair service. Pay more than the PCB. Rearrange all the polyfill. Close enough. Ugh. case is almost back together. Carefully. Okay. Let's see if anything has changed. Whoa. The weight sure hasn't. The weight sure hasn't. Oh man. Mouse cursor, where are you? Hit the stop button. Let me see. Just gonna spam some keys real quick. Well, we'll try it one more time. Typing test. Plug it in. Ugh. It's so heavy. Alright, where is it? Alright. Music's already stopped. Mouse clicks keyboard level. Let's see if putting a little bit of force break between the plate and the top case has assisted. I think I like it better now. I still think something needs to change with this. I'm not really even sure what though. Hmm. Yeah, right side of the nav cluster. You can hear it. It's like different keyboards. If it's between here and here and here and here, it sounds okay to me. As it gets down towards Z and X, I'm sure you can hear it has more resonance concentrated near this corner. Like this key especially, you can just sort of hear it resonating outwards. Yeah, I'm about to head out myself. Yeah, here's the escape key. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think I'm gonna have to play around with this board for the next few days and probably ask questions on the Mount Kiever server about what people have done. I don't know. I think it feels pretty good for a top mount TKL. Sort of has that slightly bouncy Korean feel to it. Maybe not. I mean, I don't know. Other boards I have heard on YouTube have a little bit of resonance, but not like this. I'm not sure if it's just my microphone picking it up or I'm just sensitive to it too, or the people we have in the audience right now are just, there's something else I'm just missing. I don't know. The home row sounds better. Like, the alphas sound okay. The bottom row I don't think sounds great. The number row sort of sounds like I usually expect an F row to sound like, and the F row just sounds sort of congested in a way. And I thought adding tape might help to put something between the two. I don't know. I'll have to sleep on this and think about it. Maybe MX Black's ain't it for this build, and that's fine. Plenty of other switches in the chest to use. I'm not sure. More research, revisit, rebuild. Yep, it's a learning experience, and this is interesting. All right. Well, I think that's about it for me. I guess I should pass you viewers off to somebody else. You have anyone in mind, Mr. Enomoshiki, that I should bring people to that you recommend? Okay. Raid custom KBD. Alright, sending you off to the suggested custom KBD. Everyone have a good night, and thanks for showing up, and I'll see you guys next time. If I do figure this board out, I'll put us up a sound test, and hopefully it will be good. Thanks, everybody. See you guys later. Stay safe and stay healthy.
You buying it, Jaden?
Nah, bro.
Why not?
Do you listen to Jaden?
Yes.
Nah, bro.
With your gigaware money.
I have no money.